Yes, lovely people, Dwayne Nathan Jack. I'm back with another one. Today, we're going to be exploring trauma, the meaning of trauma, and how trauma can limit us and the effects it has on our life. You may as well call me the trauma king. Why? Because I have been through so much trauma within my life, being stabbed, shot, run over, childhood trauma, neglect, reject, and a lot more. But I was able to come through it. Has it affected me? Yes. But the question I ask you is, what have you been through in your life? And that what you've been through, has it been revealed, number one? And has it been healed, number two? Possibly you haven't got an understanding around trauma. Obviously you hear the word buzzing a lot today. However, do you really know what trauma is? So before I go any further, let me break it down. Trauma is when you go through an experience and that experience stimulates an emotion, usually an emotion of fear, emotion of scared, shock, whether you go through childhood trauma, whether it's a car crash, whether it's abuse, bullying, a dog biting you, they're all different scenarios. And through those experiences, the five senses experience something, and then it's emotional. There's an emotional stimulation. And it's just like a light bulb. You know, a light bulb is on now, but you know, if it blows, like the power blows, it goes brighter than it originally was, but then it goes out. It's the same as that event that someone may go through. There's a shock of energy, and that shock stays within the body as emotion and memory, and it stays in the subconscious. The subconscious is responsible for our behaviors, decisions, and choices. 95% of human behavior is from the subconscious. What is the subconscious? The subconscious is basically the hard drive that operates our system. So we're only 5% conscious of what we do, our choices, decisions, etc. We're only 5%. So you're 5% taking this information in, but your subconscious is taking information in. Your subconscious takes information that you don't even know that it's taken in, because it's so powerful. And that is the operating system. So you've got to understand, whatever you go through throughout your life, from your first memories, that whether there is a stimulating event, whether it's childhood trauma, whether it's neglect, reject, or a car crash, or a breakup in a relationship, these are all emotional events. And this data, memory, gets stored within the body and within the subconscious program. So then we end up in survival patterns. Yeah, we could have survival patterns where we're constantly in survival, fight, flight, and freeze, because we're still operating from the data from that event that happened 5 years ago, 10 years ago, because it hasn't been revealed and healed. This can then lead to addictions. A lot of people will then have addictions, whether it's alcohol, due to that trauma, numbing the pain and trying to avoid. There's that avoidance as well from the trauma, from actually those feelings that come up, these emotions come up when you are sober, going through everyday life. This is due to you not wanting to maybe face that. So you avoid it by what? Taking drugs, drinking alcohol, possibly sex, unhealthy relationships. So these are all areas that trauma can be a driving force to self-sabotaging us, wanting to live in chaos, because we're constantly operating from a certain level because we're down here in the lower chakras that represent the animal side of us, that's stuck within the sexual and the food and the stuff that's like the lower dents of us. So what you've got to understand is we go through life as people. There's not one person on this planet that's probably not being driven by that trauma. Whether it was being bullied at school, whether it was the middle child syndrome, your brothers and sisters got more attention, you were the one to get Harry the hand, or the whatever it may be. So that experience that you've forgotten about, but that's why you may be an alcoholic. That's why you're taking drugs. That's why your father wasn't around, so now you're sleeping around, because you're now that trauma of not having that male figure. Now you're trying to get that out there, trying to fulfill that void from the trauma of the absence of a father, and vice versa. Are you with me? So whether it was a parent not being there, whether it was a physical injury, these experiences are all stored in the body and can limit us to our full potential if not revealed and healed. So let's just go through self-sabotage. We can get to a certain point of life or business and then sabotage it due to that trauma. Because I haven't got time in this video, but in the next video, you've got the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve goes from the brain to the heart to the stomach. Now imagine you're stuck down here below the stomach area, down here. You're not able to shift up here. So if you're not able to shift up here, you're possibly living in fear. False evidence appearing real. And that fear is limiting you from being who you're destined to be, taking opportunities, taking risks, because you're fearing what other people are going to think or say, and you're stuck within that lower frequency due to something that happened to you a decade or two ago. Are we taught this in school? No, we're not. Do we come across this information every day? No, we don't. Maybe your feed, if you are in search for truth, and he says the truth will set you free. So, part of my healing before YouTube and before this information age, I was in my prison cell. Unfortunately, for those that know the story, obviously my childhood trauma was drugs, rock and roll, and I was a problem to myself and society. And that's where I was locked up for a majority of my teenage years to mid-20s. So, and that's where I discovered myself and had a spiritual awakening within myself, and everything changed. And I was fortunate to then go back into prisons and give back and serve my country, society, have keys and contracts, and be able to use the knowledge and wisdom. But anyway, before then, I was in my last sentence. And what happened, I called my mum and my dad up because something came in my spirit, because I was doing a lot of meditation at the time. I was doing a lot of self-work on myself. I had no TV in my cell. I was just meditating. I was reading books. I was like this monk. So there I was, and I called them up, had a family visit because I was good, well behaved. And I said, Mum, I forgive you. She goes, forgive me for what? What are you talking about? I said, come here. And then typical human beings, she's gone, oh, but what about your dad? Pointing the finger at my dad. Typical human beings, don't want to take responsibility and blame others. Anyway, I'd done my stuff. I gave her a hug and I forgave her. Yeah? Because I discovered that my trauma was the neglect and the rejection from my mum, and I just dearly wanted love. And that was my trauma. So that was the driving force why I was so angry as a young child and ended up getting into a lot of trouble at the age of 13 in the police, drugs and self-sabotage, chaos behaviours. And that was the driving force for me until I obviously become aware of everything and had my spiritual experience where I found God and started building a relationship and with myself, and understanding the science behind your thoughts, feelings, and emotions, the subconscious. So why am I sharing this story with you? I'm sharing a story with you because before I done my work, I was self-sabotaging my life with drugs. My relationships problems. Have you got relationship problems? Do you go from one relationship to the other and the same things come out in those relationships? Possibly there's a mirror from your mum and that rejection or whatever it may be, and the same drama comes up, or the opposite sex, the same thing with mum, dad, mum. Are you with me? You're attracting your mum or your dad in that relationship because you may have had the absence from that. So then there's a repeated pattern, or whether it's domestics or whether it's abuse or whatever it may be. Are you attracting these relationships? And that's due to your trauma that hasn't been revealed and healed. Then you've got, have you got low self-esteem? Have you been through abuse? And where you've been through abuse, now you have a low self-esteem. You're not confident in yourself. Why? Because you're stuck in here, fear, false evidence appearing real. And this is all to do with trauma. Are you repeating the same patterns over and over again? And you're asking yourself why? It doesn't make sense. Or this should bring some clarity to why it now does make sense. Because you're stuck into the lower frequency within your nervous system where something happened in your past, what we call trauma, and now it's limiting you from being yourself. What does trauma do as well? It shapes your identity, yeah? It shapes your identity of who you are, who you believe you are, or who you believe you can be, your capabilities. And it all revolves around your frequency. Because your frequency will determine your reality. And if you're stuck in trauma, then that's going to restrict you and be a restriction from you to be who you're destined to be and to meet your dreams and desires. Because it's like bouncing your head off of a wall. And this is how powerful it can be if you crash down this wall by doing the work with yourself. Now, a lot of people that are still traumatized, you could say something or whatever, they get traumatized. It's like putting salt in a wound. You know, like you, a packet of crisps, you got a cut finger, you go to eat a packet of crisps, you put your finger in and it stings. That's what it's like with people that's still traumatized. I remember when I used to be traumatized, I could watch a program and something would trigger me and I'd get all hot, my chest and thingy, and it would affect my thoughts and my feelings. And then I'd get on the phone and start, do you understand? That's because that was an open wound. There'll be things, you'll see things, you'll hear things, and it will bring stuff up and you're straight away, you're full unconscious. I could be speaking to certain family members, and when I'm speaking to her, I'll say something and she go, boom, I lose her there and then. The lights are on, but no one's at home because I've said something that's triggered her trauma. So then when we're traumatized and we're not healed, what we're walking and talking doomed because we're operating, there's the subconscious, what we're operating with our behavior, but then we feel unconscious, so we're not even there. Are you with me? Because we're unconscious. Have you ever been speaking to someone before and you're speaking to them and all of a sudden they're just gone? And if you used to ask them what you said, they wouldn't even know because they're gone. The lights are on but no one's at home because they've fallen unconscious. The majority of the world, if you walk, you'll see people unconscious. You look, you'll see they're not aware. Because being aware of what's in there and what's in here is being conscious. You're conscious of your surroundings. When you're walking, you could still have a dialogue with yourself, walking and talking to yourself, like consciously, affirmations, speaking great things of yourself. But then also, when you're looking around, you could see the unconsciousness that people are operating from the data, the hard drive, the trauma from yesterday, and stuck in the lower frequency. and limiting themselves to their full potential. Are you with me? So what's the answer? The answer is healing. How do we heal? Number one, we have to identify, because you can't heal without identifying the hurt. So sometimes you got to do the timeline. You do your timeline and you go back from your childbirth and you go through all the events of what happened to you from your first memories. Was you in a nuclear family, mum and dad was all right, and then they broke up, left 13? Or was you in the care of the local authority? Or did you have a nuclear family, happy family? It was only when you went to school you got bullied. Was it you got neglected, rejected as a kid? Was you sexually abused? Was you physically abused growing up? Was you attacked? Was you in a car incident? Did you lose a family member? These are all traumas. And then what did you do about that? Did you speak to anyone? Did you gain a deeper understanding? Was you able to explore that, gain a deeper understanding so that you've got understanding of it, you've accepted it, and then you're able to let go so you can grow and glow? Or did you just forget about it, sweep it under the carpet? But remember, if we sweep it under the carpet, we put it under the mat, and then all of a sudden you can't even open the door now, because you've put so much under the mat that you can't even open the door. So it's not about sweeping it under the mat. It's about putting it in the bin, tying it up diligently, knowing what's there, gaining an understanding that it needs to go because it don't serve you anymore. Boom, you chuck it in a bin, it's gone. It's not about carrying it on our back and in our nervous system, because then it's going to limit us, our vibrational frequency, from creating the dreams that we're destined to create if we heal this thing called trauma. Are you with me? So number one, gain an understanding, speak to someone, write a letter down. The person might be dead. If you can have that engagement and sit with the person and say how it made you feel, A, B, and C, that's a very therapeutic scenario that I'm explaining now, because that person may not have known that they'd done that, or they may not have been in the right mindset, and then there's a healing process for them and for you. Sometimes you can't, so you might have to just write a letter, and then when you write the letter, you let it go. You can burn it, let it go and then it's gone. And then how else do you heal trauma? It's physical exercise. I go to the gym every day. It might not be weights, but I go to the gym. When you're moving your body, you're moving the energy around your body. So number one, go into the gym. Number two, possibly yoga, meditation. Meditation is the number one. Meditation. And you can visualize healing. And remember, if you're religious or whatever, you can pray to God. Oh yeah, glory to Jesus. Inside out. That's part of my foundation. Was part of my progression and my healing and my everything that I'm doing. And it's been the rock for me and my progression, and not just my progression, for me to be here today. Because if it wasn't for my relationship, because I don't do religion, that was a healing in itself, because it's all about forgiveness. You got to forgive the people that hurt you. If you can't forgive them, you're never going to heal. So it's not about them, it's about you. It's all about forgiveness. I've got clients that never spoke to their mum for like 10 years. And we started doing our work, and it just releases that energy. Are you with me? You have to release the energy. You can't carry that negative energy, because it gets weighty and it will hold you down. You will become the prisoner. You will become hostage of those emotions if you don't let them go. But you can only let go if you have a deeper understanding. And when you start looking at things differently, the things you look at change. Life is very short, very limited. So it's about thinking a little bit out of the box. If someone hurts you, it doesn't mean you have to hurt them. Turn the other cheek, he said. Why turn the other cheek? Because there's much more spiritual power in turning the other cheek than to fall into the lower frequency and the lower dense and do the exact same thing back, because those that turn the other cheek understand the principles and the laws of the universe, because what you do unto others will be done unto you. Are you with me? But that comes with growth. That comes with psychological and spiritual growth of understanding and wisdom. It don't come overnight. The people that have chopped me, cut me, run cars over me, I forgive them. There's no negative energy within me, but it didn't come just like that. And that's part of obviously my relationship that I have with the Lord that I serve as well. So, ladies and gents, healing, exercise, meditation, forgiveness, and just continually doing work on yourself, yeah? Always letting go, putting the rubbish out daily, putting the rubbish out daily. Because remember, we all mess up, we've all made mistakes. And whether he or she did or didn't do, we have to forgive. That is the key component with the meditation, with the exercise, and having purpose. But that's another video, yeah? So I'm gonna love you and leave you. If you haven't already, please do subscribe, and I will see you on another one. Dwayne Nathan Jet.